Dear trading friends, here's a short update video on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and also on all the altcoin trades. Quite a lot has happened, especially yesterday. As you can see, Bitcoin has risen by over 12%. It was a similar story with the altcoins. And today I'll show you what has happened with the trades I had already placed in advance. Some were triggered, a few stop losses were hit, and some profits were taken with the altcoins. With Bitcoin, you can see that my short position hasn't been reached yet. But I have to be honest here, my long-term long position, which I had open and which had an entry at around 98,000 US dollars, I have now closed at a loss. Why? For what reason? I'll tell you later. But I just went ahead and did that now. It wasn't that dramatic, a little over 3,000 US dollars, but I want to use that capital now to enter new trades. Before we continue with Bitcoin, let's take a quick look at how things are going with the other coins. Ethereum, you can see the long position is still in profit. There I got a very good entry at 2,755. Unfortunately, Astar hit the stop loss. I took losses here. That's just part of trading. AAVE was super interesting. I just want to quickly share that with you. I really caught AAVE at a good time. With AAVE, it was actually the case that I didn't get stopped out here. At the beginning, the stop loss was up here, if you can remember. That means the position went into profit. I took partial profits down here and set the stop loss to break even. You can recognize that by these symbols here. That means this short position took partial profits and was then closed at break even. At the same time, I opened long positions down here. Do you remember? I said I would go short and then at the same time go long. Unfortunately, the first long position hit its stop loss. That's not so bad. You can also see it here by the red X. But the second long position was then opened down here and it has now reached its take profit. You can see that up here. Now I'll quickly remove this short Fibonacci. It looked like this. I took this high, waited down here for the long positions, and the take profit was reached. Really awesome. So I was able to take quite a bit here. One short position in profit, a small stop loss, and in return the long position went wonderfully into profit with the take profit at the same time. And as you can see, I already have, let me remove this long Fibonacci, the next short position open up here. That means the very first short position was closed. The next short position was triggered and it looks like it's just barely in profit now because my entry is right at the 0.618. So it's basically at break even at the moment. I'm curious to see if it will, my stop loss is up here and of course there's still a bit of room. But of course it won't stay that way because with AWA it's also the case that I'll be looking for a new entry if we correct. No matter how high we go, I'll look for the next Fibonacci long entry opportunity and would take that as well. That means, once again, taking advantage of the market in both directions as much as possible. If you don't know my trading strategy yet, or if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. I try to provide the most neutral trading content possible, neither permanently bullish nor permanently bearish. You can also check out the second video about the simplest trading strategy and you're still not using it, or the entire Learn Trading playlist, step by step to professional trading. And at the same time, you can still claim a welcome package at Bitget if you haven't registered yet. That means up to $8,000 deposit bonus and a welcome package provided to you by Bitget. For everyone who has registered, there's the opportunity to get another bonus using the second link in the video description, a $200 spot grid position voucher and a $200 futures position voucher, plus 2 weeks of VIP level 1, which means lower fees. To do this, simply click on Claim Voucher in your browser. This is completely risk-free because you can use these 2 vouchers here as well. Simply put it into this spot or into a position. If it goes into the negative, then it stays with Bitget. That means you don't have to cover the loss yourself. If you make a profit, of course, that belongs to you. But let's move on now. Super exciting. But now let's move on to the next trade, XLM. Unfortunately, XLM didn't make it, right? With XLM here, we had a similar situation. We entered the short position beforehand. The short position I took here, I took partial profits down here when we consolidated here. At the same time, I saw that my long position was already in place here. That means the first long position hit the stop loss. And unfortunately, the second long position also just barely, as you can see here, triggered the stop loss. But it wouldn't have helped to include the 0.786 level either. So here I simply took 2 losses, but I did take partial profits here. And then the price went up and the stop loss was triggered at break even. The next position that's waiting for me at this point is the 0.618. That would be up here. If we get in here, you can see it's actually quite interesting if I just remove this for a moment. With this previous support zone that we had, which acted as support for a long time and then became resistance, that's where I would enter my next short position. If the short position is opened, of course, I'll also be on the lookout for the next long position and where that might be. But that will come in a follow-up video when the time comes. Then I also have XLP. XLP has triggered its short position. Down here as well, I took partial profits yesterday, and this morning the position was closed at break even. That's fine with me too, because now I have another positive trade here. Then we also have Litecoin. Litecoin is waiting. With Litecoin, last time we were here, it made a new low. And for me, it's still the case that I'm waiting for my short entry from this high to this low here. And I'm proceeding in the same way as we did with the other trades. If we reach this short entry, I'll wait for a correction so I can enter my new long position somewhere around here and then continue upwards. If that doesn't work out, the short position will still be in profit. So again, the goal is to take advantage of both sides of the market as perfectly as possible. That would look something like this depending on where we enter. For me, it would of course be ideal if we trigger the 0.618, because then at 0.5 here, we have a wonderful support. But that's still just wishful thinking for now. At this point in time, it's actually the case that I'm waiting for 92 or 96 US dollars to enter a short position here, because a long position here just isn't valid enough for me yet. First, we would have to break this high here. Then we have SUI. SUI has just triggered its short entry. As you can see here, it tried to recover, but didn't recover as much as the other coins did the first time, then went a little bit lower and has now triggered my short entry here. That means, at least for now, this one is also in profit. SUI here, let's take a look at how many percent SUI has made. It has gained 35%. Just imagine that. So if you don't at least get a bit of a correction here, I don't know what to say. But here I'm also waiting because we've formed a nice high, and now we've also broken through this consolidation to the upside. That means for me, if this works out, I'm now waiting for a correction downwards. And you can also see that from the 0.5 Fibonacci and 0.618, which are in a very long valid consolidation zone. Just take a look at this consolidation zone. It's really interesting that we have the 0.5 and 0.618 Fibonacci levels exactly in this area here. That means if we really go down now, I will try to take a long position here and also another long here again. Just like you know from my other trades. That way I'm already in a profitable short position and will also try to position myself long again so I can take profits here as well. If we really go further down and maybe with more volume, then I have the short position, which will offset my 2 stop losses here on the long side. I also still have HBAR now. If we look in here, that's still quite far away as well. For my next entry, I have this high here, so I'll mark that again as well. Nothing has changed. You know, from my other videos that I'm waiting for this here or for this here for a correction. And maybe then if we have a structure break, it could continue to rise. So I'm waiting for a short entry, then trying to go long and then continue upwards. I'm not going long now because we still have a valid, intact, bearish price structure, which I won't just go long on. DOGE is exactly the same. It also hasn't managed to trigger its long short position yet. So everything is still active here, just like in the last video. And it's the same with CRO. With CRO, I'm still a bit cautious, to be honest. I'm not sure if I'll take out the 0.5 because with CRO, you can see exactly in this area where the 0.5 Fibonacci is. In this case, that would be a possible complete structure break, which could bring a stronger candle to the upside. Either the rejection really comes and we go down again. But what bothers me here is simply that we've had several rejections now. And if we do break through, then I really see the possibility that we could break through more strongly. But again here, with the possible 0.618 entry, to take a short position that might retest down here and then continue upwards depending on the market situation. Of course, we always have to analyze this live, but in that case, I would again try to enter a long position. I'll definitely keep you updated, something like this. Depending on how high the price goes, it would of course be good to go down into this consolidation zone and then continue upwards. So at the moment, I'm really only oriented towards short positions. Once, twice here, and that's it. Then we also have Chainlink. Chainlink just triggered my short entry. And at this point, it's also at a loss. Let's see if it will hit the stop loss. If not, I have another short position up here where I already mentioned back then that we have a pretty valid zone from the past, as you can see here, where we had a lot of volume. Here, again and again, support, not exactly on point, of course, but the zone is still quite interesting. That's why I'm also waiting here for a possible short position and nothing else because we have such a valid break, but we can take a look at it. What does Link have here? A 22%? So that's incredible too. But here, I'm not doing anything else either except waiting again. Okay, if we get a reversal somewhere here, wait for a correction and then enter the long position afterwards. Exactly. Otherwise, we still have Solana. Solana hasn't quite made it yet. Here, I see it similarly to CRO. We've been consolidating here for such a long time. I'm honestly a bit afraid of the 0.5 Fibonacci level. Either we get another rejection here and see a bit more price drop, or we actually break through with a strong candle. In that case, I might take a stop loss at the 0.5 Fibonacci and then hope for a correction at the 0.618 Fibonacci to then short into the next long position. And it's the same as with the others. And also with Ethereum. Ethereum is also ready for a short position for me. We can see it here, 3,135, 3,257. Nothing has changed for me here, except that I'm saying I'm waiting for possible short entries. Why? The 0.618 would be especially interesting, because then we would break through all these lower highs we've had to the upside. And here too, I could imagine something similar. So we're saying we move upwards, then have a correction downwards, depending on how far we go up. Maybe we'll also go here to close this fair value gap and then have another correction downwards and maybe continue to rise higher. I want to be hedged both short and long at the same time. I keep telling you this over and over again. But now let's take a quick look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is super interesting. After this massive break, unfortunately, it didn't work out here for the short position to be open so far. Let's take a look here as well. 94,099 looks super interesting as a possible short entry. Again, we have this Fibonacci level from this high and this low, but I don't see anything different here either. We must not forget we've pumped 13% now. That's not a small amount. So I would say we could go in here, maybe drop down again and then go up. Or if that's not the case, maybe go in here again, then correct down a bit and then go up. That would be my current plan if we really manage to pull off a bullish reversal. And of course, we can also take a look at the liquidation heat map. Let's take a look at this area here. Sorry, it was that one. On a 1 month basis, 98,000 US dollars looks super interesting, of course. That's super interesting as a possible entry point. In my case, that would be something just above here. We can also see here that if the 0.6 is triggered, that would be roughly in this price range of 98,000. Then let's see what happens here as well, because if we continue to rise, I'd also be ready to open another short position up here. But we're talking about a 1 month time frame now. If we go back through all of this, for example, 1 week, 3 days, 48 hours, we need to watch out for the following. We have 220 million sitting at around 90,000 US dollars, right? Luckily at 90,000 US dollars. This means that under this big pump we had before, there isn't that much sitting there on a weekly basis at this point in time. We'll also look at the 3-day basis in 48 hours. But that's what I mean. Very interesting. Over 3 days, it's those 230 million. That could be a correction level. I'm curious to see if we'll go further down, because right here, where we had this massive breakout, I don't see as much liquidity lying around at this point as we have here in this cluster. So it could mean that we won't go down that far, but that these 90,000 US dollars will serve as a very, very interesting level. Because if we go down to 84 again, there are also about 300 million lying here roughly together as this cluster, but a bit more spread out. But these 90,000 here, they are of course super interesting. Now, as a small correction and maybe then continue to rise, because we must not forget, and this is something that bothers me a bit at the moment, if we turn on Big Beluga, and I'll remove this arrow as well, we have a fair value gap here. We had one here before, exactly with this long candle, we had the same as here. And now after this massive pump with this candle, what we had in it, we still haven't picked that up yet. That means here it's 89,000, 88,870, which is roughly what it could be. Also the order blocks, as you can see up here where my Fibonacci levels are. That means if the 0.5 is triggered, I have another order block up here that could possibly act as a rejection. Otherwise, I have the 0.618 here again with a small fair value gap, but the next order block is even higher up. That's why if we do get this rejection here, then of course I'm ready for my short, but these shorts are really just there to get into the next possible long position. And what do I mean by the next possible long position? If I take this here now and, for example, pull it up, no matter how high we go, if this is now our high, if this was our high, then we have the possibility here, as you can see, so this is our high, that we have the 0.5 on the Fibonacci right at the fair value gap in the middle. And of course, that's very, very important. By the way, I will of course also make a video about the Big Beluga Smart Money Concepts indicator, because it's a free indicator, the 0 hours, 2 minutes, 28 seconds algo premium indicator. And I want to explain to you exactly how it works so that you can use it too, because it's really very good. But that's how it looks to me at the current moment. Why did I also close my large position now? I can imagine that we might hit 90,000 US dollars again, and I would like to open new positions and use my balance for that. And for everyone who stayed until the end, just very briefly, because we talked about it in the last live stream, I opened a 100x trading pot. Yesterday it was actually up about 200 to 750% in profit. I'll explain to you another time why and how I entered it, because in the last live stream you talked a bit about the Fibonacci possibilities with trading bots and very high leverage. And that's exactly what I took advantage of here. And as you can see, it worked very well. All the others are also pretty much in profit, except for the Ethereum futures grid at 5x, which still has a small loss. If you're not on PIONEX yet, you also have the opportunity to use a link in the video description, and then you'll get a bonus. And I'd be happy if you subscribe and leave a comment on this video. See you next time. Ciao. Ciao.